Welcome to Out and About. Today I am at T's Cottage pumping station. It's the 22nd of June 2025. The purpose of this building was to provide drinking water for Darlington and the surrounding area. And the waterworks, of course, is still across the road from where I am at the moment. That's where we park the car. The idea of visiting this pumping station was twofold, and the other reason was to introduce Alex Carnes to my friend James Evans, who's a volunteer at T's Cottage pumping station. And after having my friend Alex Carnes stopping with me for 2 weeks, my life can now return to normal. Here's a photograph of a conversation between Alex Carnes on the right and James Evans on the left. We arrived at about 11:15 and the place didn't open till 11, and we were getting a bit of obstruction by the people saying, "Who are you? What are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. It doesn't open till 11. And I had to say, we're friends of James Evans and we want to have a look at the engine. And I also would like to get some video footage of the starting procedure. Thank you very much. In this clip, I do believe that James Evans was explaining the starting procedure, or at least what all the levers did. I really am a big fan of Victorian engineering. They made things properly in those days. And the world was a very different place, with its own share of problems like we have today, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to show pictures of this engine instead. These gauges mounted on the wall are really good quality gauges, indicating various pressures and vacuum of the engine's functions. And this is some sort of a recorder. I don't quite know what this does. A bit of incompetent camera work cut off the description on the left. This is the low pressure steam cylinder because there's a plaque that says low pressure cylinder. And this one, surprisingly enough, is the high pressure cylinder because this engine is a compound. The outlet of the high pressure cylinder exhausts into the low pressure cylinder and the steam is used twice, much more economical. If you'd like to see the full details of this engine, then pause the video and you can read it. This could be called a small beam engine relative to some of the monsters that are out there. As I mentioned previously, I'm a big fan of Victorian workmanship, and just look at this. Behind this part of the engine is a very small machine shop. This is a shaper, and this is a very old and quite large lathe. And I would think it probably still works. The problem is, though, the convenience of turning, drilling and shaping, by the way, this is a drilling machine, would appear to be very dependent on the line shaft drive, which is actually not turning at the moment. And as most people will know, the overhead shafting and fast and loose pulleys were the way that most of the mills worked, and as you've just seen, workshop machinery was also driven using this method. I was a bit puzzled what this was, so I asked James and he said it's the inlet condenser. I assume this to prevent water from getting into the cylinder when the steam valve is initially opened. I found a couple of photographs, and relative to the size of the building, just look at the size of the beam. I was told that apparently a steam crane was used to put it in position. That must have been an impressive sight. You've seen the valve gear operating levers, and this photograph shows the beam engine's valve chest without its cladding. And here's a big difference between now and the Victorian period. For instance, in the photograph it's just a load of pipes with the lever frame at the bottom. And here's the lever frame now with the cladding in place. And look how ornate it is. Here are the two cylinders, the high pressure and low pressure, side by side. And the cladding is cool to the touch, quite unlike small steam engines where the cladding does get hot. Not everything in this area is cool though, as the sign says. In this next clip there is live audio, so I'm not going to speak. James is currently explaining to Alex how to start the engine in this case.
And then what we'll do, bring each one back in just to make sure they're and I'm going to block them, so you need to keep.
Oh, I see what's happening.
Bring them back there. That block again. Bring it back.
Oh, let's see. Now,
So
where's the crank?
Top speed, bottom torque.
When you pull the levers back, keep your hands down there.
Oh yes.
Because if you look at them,
They're inclined to fly back.
I understand.
We don't want blood on there.
you might damage them.
The engine does not immediately burst into life and start to rotate. 2 or 3 attempts had to be made to get the levers in the right place, to put the valves in the right place, to make the crankshaft go all the way round. This, I think, is a particularly nice part of the engine. Look at the size and the engineering standard of the crankweb. Down at the bottom, below the crankweb, are a couple of pumps. Once again, James and Alex are manipulating the levers that control the valve events. And in this clip, it looks like the crankshaft is going to rotate all of the way around, but near top dead centre, it stops. Why did it stop? I really don't know, because the models that I work on don't use this system. You can get hold of the flywheel and put it in the right place and then just open the steam valve. But moving this flywheel into the correct place would require a lot of effort. And now, on the middle floor, there's an awful lot of synchronicity of lever manipulation. That's a good term. And now the flywheel is going all the way round. You can see this by the fact that the governor is rotating as it should. And the pistons are going in and out. Very impressive. It's totally silent. What a piece of equipment. I went up to the top floor to see what was going on there. And here's the main bearing block on one side, and it has an indicator which obviously tells you how many revolutions it does. Just look at the size and weight of this beam, but this is actually small by comparison with some of the larger beam engines. It's the grace of movement and sinusoidal effect that sort of is hypnotic, and you want to bang your head into the beam, which is not really a good idea. That's enough of strange thoughts about head-butting beam engine beams. Look at this thing. It's a bit of a diorama. You put a coin in and it works. It's very simple and quite crude, but sort of charming at the same time. I don't know what's going on with this thing in the middle. Probably supposed to be bringing the coal to where it's needed. Or is it an early version of R2-D2? I don't know. I think I'll go back to the main beam and watch it go up and down. This is absolutely beautiful. I suppose it's just as well that there are people in the building talking, because otherwise there'd be so little noise, there'd be nothing to hear. Here's another shot of Alex Carnes and James Evans on the middle floor. At this stage I went outside to see how much smoke was being emitted by the chimney, and as you can see, very little, but then again the engine isn't working hard. Here's a shot of another part of the Tees Cottage pumping engine complex taken from the road. Inside one of the buildings is a later addition. It's a gas engine. And I don't really know much about these, so I'm not going to pretend that I do. This made me laugh though. What exactly is a wet coke scrubber? I think I possibly had a girlfriend like that once upon a time. I think this area was for when they produced the gas from coke to run the engine, perhaps. That's a guess. Enough about scrubbers. I'm going to go through to where the engine is. There's a bit of a smell of gas in this building, but it's not too strong. This is quite a contraption. It doesn't have the same elegance as a beam engine, but this was progress. Listen to the noise it makes. I don't know what's going on here. I assume this is a small gas engine, and it looks like a Westinghouse dynamo at the side of it. I think that this gas engine also must drive water pumps. This is a nice thing, but it doesn't have the charm of the beam engine by any stretch of the imagination. But at least you didn't have to wait until the water boiled. It's time, I think, to go outside. There was also an exhibition of motorcycles. This was a very nice old vintage one, and there were also some modern ones as well. This small boy is one of the volunteers' sons, dressed in a Victorian outfit and looking like he's doing some gardening. Excuse me, can you work faster? He didn't appear to take my comment too kindly and gave me a dirty look. Outside were a couple of stationary engines. And one of them was a bit of a curiosity. I don't know what it is. And the man said, "Can you help us identify this engine, please? So if you definitely know what it is, please let me know." Apart from the rather nice little fountains, there is also a miniature railway at Tees Cottage pumping station. This is a Blackgates Engineering Sweet William locomotive. And I thought I would have a bit of a ride on it, but I didn't feel very safe. I don't know why, it just wobbled about a bit too much for my liking. And also, I was hand-holding the camera, which was difficult enough. Normally when I do things like this, I fit a tripod on the truck in front of me, which stabilises the camera and stabilises me. I got off the train and had a walk around. There was a blacksmith making bits and pieces, and his prices were very low for what they were. A really pivotal part of the day for me was meeting this man who's hanging on to Alexander Cairns. His name is Terry Newman. He's 81 years old and one of the most interesting people I've spoken to for a long time. Much earlier on in his career, he was the driver of the Blue Peter locomotive. And I was incredibly pleased to meet with him and speak with him for at least a couple of hours. A gentleman of the highest order. I went back outside and there was a man filling his locomotive with water, so I hitched a lift and had another ride around the track. This time I didn't get off halfway round. It just so happened it was a quicker method of getting to the part of the site where I wanted to go next. I really enjoyed my day at Tees Cottage. And this is only a snippet. If you want to see a lot more about Tees Cottage, then you need to look on the YouTube channel of James Evans. And the name of his channel is Tees Cottage Guy Productions. The web address is on screen. Here are various views once again of the beam engine running. The engineering is astonishingly good. Not that I would like to get involved with it. These things are far too big for little me. Although I'm not really little, it's just I don't like full-size engineering. Everything is ridiculously heavy. Myself, James Evans, Alexander Cairns and Terry Newman were talking in an area of the middle floor, which is cordoned off to the public. So as I left, one of the officials sort of told me off, telling me I wasn't supposed to do this and I wasn't supposed to do that. He didn't mention it to the others, just to me, but I mean, I do know a little bit about steam engines, and there are very rarely headbutt beams or any moving parts of them. Even the small ones can bite. That concludes the video. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my main Steam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.